The Last Wall. Chapter 1. We start in Terra at the Imperial Palace. All the pilgrims screamed and ran. It was a manifestation of terror. Has hit the pilgrims with her power maul, while Ottomar Kord yelled, "Get back!" They had killed a few pilgrims. They struck with their mauls. The electricity of it was supposed to shock the nerves, but the blunt force opened skulls. And true, the arbiters were not controlling the situation. They were to strike back at the chaos. They yelled at the crowd because they too would give in to fear if not. The Ork moon was close to the most protected of Imperial planets, to Holy Terra itself. The ground shaking didn't help the scared crowd. The arbiters pushed through and tried to find an island through which they would regain control. But the crowd pushed over a food wagon that released burning promethium on them, and the screams took a note of pain. Now we move to Vangarich. The High Lords meet in the chamber of the Senatorum. They held their meeting there because it was a comeback to tradition, but also because other places were filled with Langsung's vainglory or the moon locked over them. Vangarich then goes on about how the High Lords still worked against each other, and how they will continue to do so even when the Orks breach the palace. Vangarich told the Lord Commander Udo that he was creating a precedent. Meeting in the chambers would mean that others would want to be heard. Udo said they will be heard in due time. Then the Lord Commander asked Langsung what does he advise. It was a clear exercise of trying to throw blame on the Admiral, while also not being direct. Langsung ordered the fleet to come to Terra, but the options were limited. They had very few vessels left to fight with, and they were a long way ahead. Juskina Tul, speaker of the Charvis captains, said that he defeated the Ork moon once. Langsung mentioned how the moon was smaller and they had more ships at Port Sanctus. Messring joined Udo in deserting his former ally by asking for a solution. Lord Militant Verald said that if the Orks got on Terra, they would lose. Everybody wanted to believe that, but the Orks exterminated the whole chapter of the Imperial Fist still. Udo tried to move the blame to Zek, the Provost Marshal, blaming the panic in the streets as too much of a problem to make decisions. Zek hadn't moved since he took his seat. Udon mentioned that the orbital defenses were manned. Suddenly Zek rose up. The Arbiter was taking reports from the planet, calculating everything. He told the High Lords the situation was flexible. Messring didn't like that, but the Arbiter told him he could go speak to the crowd instead. Zek left, mentioning he has a job to do. Vangarich was left with the High Lords without a plan or words. We move back to Haas. Remember that promethium? Well, like any fire, it expanded and the burning pilgrims aflame spread it even worse. Haas's plan was gone. The ground shaking made some of the old buildings collapse, killing thousands of civilians, but also reducing the fire. Not by much though. The tenements of the Avenue of Martyrs were in flame. Smoke came from the ruins, and as you can expect, that did little to help the population. But it did stop them from running though, so that's good. The Arbiters wanted to leave. The smoke was affecting them, but they would hold their duty. Kord spoke that they needed to bring the fight to the Greenskins. Has reassured him that their oath was another, and should Orks reach Terra, they will be needed like never before. He also mentioned how everything has changed, and she agreed with the sentiment. No segmentum has been spared, not even the home of the Space Marine Red Talons or Ultramarines.